This is my Pixel 6, and at this point, I know every corner of it, every quirk, every hesitation. But with Google's new update, it feels strangely new again. This Material 3 Expressive update was never meant for this device, neither was it for the Pixel 6 Pro or Pixel 6a, but Google pushed it out to them anyway. And the difference shows. I had tested the beta on a Pixel 8 Pro, but trying the stable release on the phone I actually carry every day, it hits differently. The first change is impossible to miss. The haptics feels sharper, stronger, like someone dialed them up halfway again. When I press the flashlight toggle, the phone almost rattles, almost like flipping a switch that's physically built into the frame. It doesn't feel out of the place though. It feels right. That same thing carries into other places, sliding the volume bar, nudging the brightness. All of these small gestures feel more anchored, more cohesive. And then there's the look of it all. Picking up the phone, I see the clock framed neatly above the date and weather. When you're on the lock screen, the unlocking screen brings in this faint blur behind the number pad. And once it unlocks, this transition looks so good. The icons settle in with a tiny bounce, like they're finding their spot on the home screen. That wasn't there in the betas as far as I remember. Now it feels deliberate, almost playful. On the home screen itself, at a glance widget has shrunk down, leaving space for an extra row of apps. The spacing overall is tighter, less wasted room, and even moving apps around, you feel vibration feedback under your thumb. A small but constant reminder that I'm moving something physical. What makes it striking is how it contrasts with what came before. For years, Pixel leaned on this flat, monotone look. Functional but dull. Now there's sense of color, especially in settings. Each section has its own space, divided by light borders that make navigation clearer. It doesn't feel like scrolling through lines of text anymore. It feels like moving through a space that was actually designed to be seen. I know a lot of these changes might look familiar on the surface to the previous betas, but I'm taking them in as someone who has been running Android 16 without Material 3 Expressive. For me, this is the first real leap since Android 12 introduced Material U. The design feels influenced by what other brands are doing, but there's a difference in how it's executed here. It's cleaner, simpler, and even with the new layers of polish, it still holds on to that pixel character that makes it feel distinct. There are small imperfections, moments where the pieces don't fit together as neatly as they should, but overall, it feels like a good sign. It's not perfect, there are edges, little mismatches you still notice if you look close, but compared to what it was, this feels like a shift. The first real change since Material U back in Android 12, and on a phone I thought I knew inside out, that shift feels bigger than I expected. In Wallpapers in Style, there's a new carousel waiting at the top. It pulls photos straight from my gallery, at random, and as I swipe through them, the animation has this smooth, fluid feel. Choosing one of those images takes me into a section called Live Effects. Here I can frame the photo with shapes, shift the colors, or use a slider to make it stand out more or less, depending on the mood I want. There's also a cinematic blur option, with which the picture takes on this depth, almost three-dimensional, and when I lock or unlock the phone, it moves, just slightly, like it's alive on the screen. There's also the new weather option. The first one, Local, ties the wallpaper to the weather where I am. Then there are presets, fog, rain, snow. Each one changes the mood of the photo in its own way. Rain might be my favorite. I can adjust how heavy it falls. And looking at this picture, you can see droplets actually stream down across the fabric. It's a small thing, but the details are nice. Snow works the same way. You'll see snow gather on your head and shoulders, covering you as if you were really standing out there. It's the kind of effects I never expected to see on a Pixel, because these feels a little over the top at first, but in practice, it adds life to what used to be a static screen. And yes, if you want sun instead, that's here too. Each option shifts the whole screen around the subject of the photo, setting an atmosphere. The only limit is that you can't stack the options. You choose between shapes, weather, or blur, one at a time. Even outside of wallpapers, the UI feels more flexible now. Scrolling has this sense of awareness. When I reach the end of a page, the elements above don't just freeze, they resize slightly, adjusting to the moment, making the system feel responsive to how I move through it. One of the first things that stands out after the update is the control panel. For the first time in years, it isn't just flat blocks and solid colors. There's blur, and it changes the whole feel. It softens the background, makes the icons sit more naturally on the screen. The old look wasn't bad, but this carries a different mood, a kind of lightness. And now those icons are not fixed anymore. I can resize them, shift them around, arrange them however I want. That same blur runs through other parts of the interface too. The notification shade, the app drawer, the recent screen, even the widget previews. It only drops out in the settings app, which breaks the consistency a little. But the settings redesign still feels worth it. Each button responds when tapped, shifting shape from a circle to a rectangle depending on its state. It's subtle, but it makes the page feel alive. The brightness slider has been reshaped too. It isn't the most striking element, but it blends in, part of the same visual rhythm. On the home screen, the Google search bar has changed. The AI mode now sits apart from the rest of the bar, framed by a faint border that separates it cleanly. The recent screen is where the physicality of the update really comes through. It's the same direction I saw in the beta, but more refined now. The app icon and its name sit inside each card, and swiping them left or right triggers a vibration that feels remarkably tactile, almost as if the phone holds a small mechanism that shifts when I move the cards. When you try to remove any card, the adjacent cards tug slightly, as if they are aware of each other and are stuck together in some way. Each action is met with a haptic feedback that grounds the gesture, reminding me that even though it's just a glass in software, it reacts like something with weight. Opening the app drawer, I noticed the keyboard is back. It was absent in the earlier betas, and without it, the experience felt unfinished. Now that it's here, the drawer feels complete again. The background has shifted too, more colorful, more transparent, with the handle sitting at the top. You probably won't use it, because even without touching it, you still drag the menu down just like before. The notification shade carries that same blur I've been seeing across the UI, but here it's paired with colors pulled from the wallpaper. Each new notification has its own lively animation. Tapping one makes it expand and contract with a bounce, while dismissing feels almost physical, like snapping it free from the notification above and below. The haptic feedback ties it together, reinforcing the sense that I'm moving something that has weight. The whole panel feels more alive. It's brighter, more colorful, distinctly Google in tone. But it's not just visual. The arrangement is cleaner too. Notifications fall into clearer groups. And at the bottom, there are 3 controls: History, Clear All, and a shortcut to notification settings. It's practical, but it also feels better thought through. Even the sounds have changed. Unlocking the phone comes with a new tone. Plugging in a charger plays a different chime, and the battery icon itself animates in a new way. Status bar icons across the board have been redesigned, and they carry a playful energy that wasn't there before. Small shifts, but they add up. Every little cue, the sounds, the haptics, pushes the phone closer to feeling fresh again. The volume controls have their own changes too. Compared to the standard Android 16 view, the Material 3 Expressive layer adds a bit more personality. When something is playing, a small waveform runs beneath the slider. Clean, subtle, and also a quiet reminder that audio is active even if I can't hear it. Above the slider sits the speaker icon. Tapping it triggers an animation that feels so nice. It opens instantly, but when I close it again, the motion slows at first before snapping shut beneath the slider. It's a small flourish, but it makes the interaction feel less mechanical, more alive. Also, expanding the panel now takes more of the screen, giving the whole thing more weight. There are smaller touches everywhere. Opening Gemini Live, for example, makes the screen dip in with a short vibration before bouncing back with the Gemini box rising into place. Now here's the thing, not everything is available here. Some Material 3 Expressive features remain limited to newer Pixel devices, so I can't show them on this phone. Now, while the experience overall feels solid, I did come across a few glitches, an issue with an always-on display, and dialer in landscape mode. Still, that doesn't take away from what this update has done for a phone as old as the Pixel 6. Material 3 Expressive hasn't just refreshed the look, it's changed how the phone feels, from the way icons move to the way vibrations meet your hand. It's always a pleasure watching an update breathe this much new life into hardware that's already had its years. That wraps up my time with Material 3 Expressive on the Pixel 6. Living with it has shown me how much an update can reshape a phone I thought I already knew. It's not flawless, but these changes make the device feel fresh again, and that in itself is worth noticing. Now if you want to see me again on your homepage, please do subscribe so I will see you again.